Okay, I'm told I can start. Very good afternoon to all of you. I am Sofia Alves, and I am Director in DG Regio. And I'm here to animate the first debate and panel. But before we do so, we have some housekeeping rules that I would like to remember. So for the Wi-Fi, you have on the screen the network and the password, and importantly also for interpretation codes. And there is a different interpretation line for the online participants, and I would like also to greet them. And please take attention that you have, if you want to use interpretation, you have a different channel, and these are also noted on the screen. So, and before I turn and I introduce my guests of this panel, I am told that the implementation phase of the Just Transition mechanism is in full swing. So this is very good news for all of us. We have here a number of stakeholders who have a decisive role in implementing it on the ground. We have a number of monitoring committees that have already taken place. They approved selection criteria, started launching calls, selected projects, and committed funds. So we have a lot going on since the last time we met last year. And we know that the pressure of implementing for this mechanism is especially important. We all know that. And we also know that we have a number of common challenges, such as state aid rules, drafting and managing the calls for proposals, communicating about the opportunities offered by the JTF, and so on. So the objectives of this session are to discuss these common challenges that we encounter in the different regions, but let's put the focus on harnessing the opportunities. Okay, every time we speak about the Just Transition Fund, the mechanisms, and everything that goes around it, it looks like it's a very heavy task ahead of us. We have a lot of difficulties, a lot of problems. Actually, I think we all should start with the JTF is a fantastic opportunity. So we need to exchange good practices, and this is why we're here on the different issues we have ahead, and also to benefit from learning from the different regions that have already started implementing the JTF. And all of those who are present here, I will also count on your assistance, on your questions, and also those who are listening from their PCs online. You will also be able to ask questions and take the opportunity that you have 4 practitioners that have already started implementing the Just Transition mechanism, and they will, they have probably good tips for you. So let me introduce you my guests today. We have Rinaldo Melucci from Italy, Taranto. He is the mayor of Taranto, and he's an elected, so he's a politician. Then I have Carlos Silveira from Portugal. He's the member of the, let's call it in English, Regional Development Agency of Centro, and one of the Just Transition regions is in Centro. And we have Kristin Hedström from Sweden. She manages the JTF program in Sweden at the Swedish Agency for Economic and Regional Growth. And last but definitely not least, we have Radana Leisner-Kratoš-Vilova, sorry for that, from the Czech Republic, from the Ministry of Environment, and also responsible for the Director at the Department of Transformation of Low Carbon Economy. So welcome. What I would like to propose you is that you give us a gist of who you are, why you're here, and the main challenges. Just walk us through the challenges you've encountered in the implementation of JTF in your region. 5 minutes each. Shall we start with you, Rinaldo?
I will try. Thank you so much, Sofia. Thank you so much for Commission, for the opportunity. Thank you so much from my community, because this is the first point of the day, by my point of view. Without the support, the resources, the technical infrastructures, and even the policies of the European Union, a lot of the transitional teams are theory. So without the Commission, without this work with this kind of platform, it's a fighting. And I'm just point out that probably Taranto today, it's the main target in Italy for the Just Transition mechanism, and it's a benchmark. If we can win this fight in Taranto, in Italy, we can win everywhere in Europe for the transition targets. Let me point out that Taranto is a middle-sized city in southern Italy. It's an industrial area. We are talking about 200,000 of inhabitants. And the territorial plan target is the province of Taranto. I have the same role as a president for the province and as a mayor of the provincial capital. The territorial plan target involving today 600,000 of people. And we are talking about a presence of industrial sector hard to abate, as we used to say, because we are talking about one of the steel factory most important in Europe, a largest factory involving employed today up to 15,000 of people. So it's an hard transition to perform. And one of the targets that we assumed in our projects was just to assure to all these people, young people in a lot of cases, new way to work in a sustainable model. Let me just mind that for the Italian share, together with some friends in a little area with the same problems in Sardinia, Taranto engaged 800 millions of the Just Transition Fund bound to Italy. And of course, we have to fight to change our economic model after 50, 60 years of EV industry that impact, of course, on the health of people, on the environmental matters, and even on the way to work of our enterprises. Let me just read some lines in order to avoid any mistakes as arranged by my counselor. As the key challenge, you can maybe see some lines on my shoulder. As key challenge and futures of the activities carried out by the municipality of Taranto that I represent today, we have to identify key public investment initiatives to unleash local potential for growth and innovation, and in line with Taranto's strategic sustainable development plan that we arranged 1 year ago. So we started with all our rounds a few months ago. As a second key challenge, and then in this dynamic round, probably we discuss about every single key challenge. We assume the preparation and implementation of an ambitious urban regeneration program, including a new green infrastructures that we used to say, that we used to call green belt, just so close to the neighbors of the provincial capital. We are talking about 1,000 of hectares around the city of Taranto within the tight time frame of JTF. And as a third key challenge, obtaining our friend of Jaspers and European Investment Bank direct support for the development of the JTF project with involvement of the teams of Jaspers, as I told you, on the 3 different assignments. So this is the way for us to work involving the managing authorities in Italy, the cohesion department, and even the intermediate player that is Apulia region for our territory. This is the fighting that we are just taking this moment with the Just Transition mechanism. Thank you so much.
And we'll come to that in a little while. Can I ask maybe Carlos, yes, to go ahead and present yourself?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, first and foremost, for the introduction. My name is Carlos Silveira, and I come from CCDRC, which is the Central Regional Development and Coordination Commission of Central Region of Portugal, which has 100 municipalities, 13 of which constitute the sub-region of Médio Tejo that I will talk about, because there's the focus of our territorial plan for the Just Transition. I would like to start by pointing out that in Portugal there are 3 just transition regions, and Médio Tejo is one of them, precisely because that's where one coal thermoelectric power plant was located, and in line with the European ambition of becoming climate neutral, we have also the challenge of overcoming this transition in the energy sector, in the coal sector. And this power plant was located in Meditejo, as I said, more precisely in the municipality of Abrantes, which started its phasing out process in 2019, and it closed in 2021. That's why we have a territorial plan for the just transition in Meditejo. We have 65 million euro to promote the economic diversification of this region, the sub-region of Meditejo, and and upskilling of the affected workers, which are at the core of the just transition process. And of course, in the case of Meditejo, that's also the case. In terms of the challenges, I would like to highlight the first one, which is the previous conditions that Meditejo was facing prior to the closure of the coal plant. This is a sub-region that can be characterized by rather low economic performance when compared to the national average and European average, facing some challenges in terms of demographic, such as the aging population, in terms of qualifications. I'm sure that this is resonating with a lot of the participants here. And of course, with the closure of the coal plant, this aggravated the fact that the sub-region needed a path forward and a new vision for what's ahead. So the Just Transition Fund and plan came in a time where we were transitioning between funding periods. This to say that CCDRC, and I forgot to mention this in the beginning, it's crucial to understand the Portuguese process. We are also the managing authority for the regional program of Central Regional Portugal. In Portugal, it was decided that the Just Transition Fund would be mobilized through the regional programs, therefore through the managing authorities that are the owners of these instruments. So CCRC came in place to operationalize this Just Transition Fund for the sub-region of Meditejo. This is one instrument among others, among the cohesion policy logic and approach, but also among others that are available at national level. The purpose is to promote the just transition, but this is one instrument that has unique characteristics, has to be fulfilled, and the just transition can only occur if we understand the available instruments in a complementary approach that we want to put forward. I have that topic in terms of skills. This is at the core of our territorial plan. Why? Because there is no just transition if we are not capable of putting forward a way of attracting talent, and talent can only exist in the form of people, and people that we can attract or can maintain in the territory or can attract from outside the territory to put forward investment proposals that can not only promote the regional development, but also assure the sustainability of that territory. And last but not least, communication is one of the challenges that we are facing, because we are putting project proposals, project calls on the ground. And projects can only take place if the demand is there, and if the stakeholders are aware that this is what this opportunity is and what this opportunity can represent for their economic development. So we have to raise awareness on the importance of the instrument. This is a unique instrument which has been demonstrated in the previous sessions and along these 2 days. This is a unique instrument and a unique opportunity to really develop a common vision forward. And that's why we are here. And it's good to know that we are followed by other European regions that are not only passionate about this topic, but also facing some challenges that we are also facing. So it's always good to be among other regions experiencing this area.
Thank you very much, Carlos. Kirsten, would you like to complement?
Yes. So my name is Kristin Hedström. I represent the managing authority in Sweden for the JTF. So we have 3 territories in Sweden that benefit from JTF. It's the 2 counties in northern Sweden, Norrbotten and Västerbotten, and then we have the island of Gotland. So the JTF in Sweden is about industry and industry decarbonization, specifically in steel, metal, and cement, mineral industry. So it's an exciting opportunity, the JTF, for us, because it can bring forward decarbonization in these heavy polluting industries, things that maybe would have happened down the line, but that we can bring forward. The interventions of the JTF in Sweden is about real CO2 emissions cutting in ETS installations. It's about research and reskilling of workers. So it's a fantastic opportunity, but of course there are some challenges. For the industry to decarbonize, that requires a lot of things we are learning. You need new environmental permits, you need new electricity setups, you need grids that can give you the electricity that you need. You need a reshaping of the workforce, etc. And these things take time, and we actually don't have that time because we want to decarbonize as quickly as possible. So we realize that there is a mismatch between the regulatory setup and the transformation that needs to happen. And then I will mention state aid rules. We're happy to have EU state aid rules, but it's challenging in the context of this fund because we are a bit pressed for time, as you know, and so we are learning a lot and reading a lot and working with our legal department, etc. And we are also in the process of notification of 2 cases to the Commission. And final challenge is really skills and labor, especially in northern Sweden. That's a sparsely populated area. And we lack the skills and the labor force to really make the industry transform as quickly as it could be. So that's one big challenge for us, how to find more people. Yeah.
Thank you, Kirsten.
Thank you,
Radana, tell us about Czech Republic.
Yes. So my name is Radana Leistner-Kratochvílová. I know it's a difficult name. Thank you for the invitation to be here up front. First I thought I'm going to be uncomfortable, but when I look at the audience, I see so many familiar faces, and I think this is it, that the Just Transition made well, I would say like a Coal Regions family, because I come here and it's beautiful to talk to everybody in what stage they are, what, I wouldn't say problems, in what situation they are, because I learned this from a colleague from Moravia Silesia, that if you talk about problems so much, then it's negative, but if you talk about a situation, maybe you will overcome it more easily. No, but also the 3 regions I actually represent in the program Just Transition in the Czech Republic, they are all here. We are quite a big Czech delegation here, and I think this shows how important the JTF is for our country and for them, for the region. Our budget is 1.6 billion. It's quite big, but it doesn't cover all the expenses or the sources necessary for transition, as the coal was actually 40% of the energy mix of the Czech Republic. So it was a very, very important source. And now the regions have to, of course, deal with it, and each of them is in a different situation. Now I wanted to use the right word, situation, not the problematic one. So that's why the focus of the intervention is actually so broad, and our program is very broad. We deal with entrepreneurship, with research and development, with clean energy, digital innovations. Of course, we deal with people, we deal with the land regeneration, and again, we try to focus on the specific needs of the regions. I think we can, I may say that some of the calls we're launching, and we've already launched 75% of the allocation in the calls. They were quite similar, but some of them are very regionally specific, and it took some time to discuss it with the regions, and I think this is also a specific opportunity for them to consult on something so in detail with the ministry, as we are the national level. Well, we will see, of course. We are now coming to a stage where we have the projects already under agreement. And of course, now even their feedback is coming, like how the implementation was designed, how are the conditions for them, and maybe some negative feedback will come too. Of course, we have to count on that. What I would say, the key implementation challenges. Yes, as I said, it was the diversity of the needs of each of the regions, smaller, less developed maybe, without a university, bigger, more developed, with 3 universities. It really depends, and we're trying to focus on that too. I think each of the regions did a great job in identifying their strategic projects or projects of strategic importance. We've had 35 of them. Now we'll see how many will actually apply in the calls for proposal that was launched for them. Some of them already applied in February. That was so fast. Some of them were prepared, some of them were not. We tried to give them assistance so that they can prepare the project. So great that the regions were able to say, okay, we have these strategic needs, and will you be able to finance them in general? Well, with the state aid now on the ground with GBER, we're finding out that it's not possible to finance a project like this in its preliminary ideas. We have to focus on certain areas, and together with the now colleagues from Jaspers, thank you very much to all the team working either on the assessment of the project. Michael Schaller is here, but also we have an assignment on the state aid, especially because without that we wouldn't be able to actually force the projects to be in the state that they are now. But still, one of the projects we will probably have to ask a question to the DG Compet, and I don't know how long would that take, but with the time pressure, it's since the projects were already submitted in February, for example, it's difficult for them, I would say. Also, we came with the situation that there was already some of the programs in the cohesion programs were already implemented, but maybe that was an advantage. So we could say, okay, we're gonna go because this is additional money, so we're gonna go a little bit further. We'll use this activity which the other programs cannot finance, or we will add up to other calls that are not financed. Also, we used also the technical assistance, as you said, Carlos. I mean, the raising of awareness about the program, about the activities. It was difficult for us when we didn't have the special conditions of the calls. It was everybody was asking us, okay, so what will you actually offer? What will be the conditions? So when somebody came and helped us a little bit to go to the territory, and so that we could actually work on the conditions of the calls, that was a big help. And now there is a groundwork in Sokolov city, which is a smaller area in Karlovy Vary region, and there was a conference last week, and it was, I think that was great thing to do, to show that other regions face the same challenges. And what I'm trying, or we are trying to help now or find out how to do is how to combine the first and second pillar, because we feel that there is not enough money for example, the bigger companies to really do a big investment in the regions. But we would like to create like better opportunity for them, for the regions. So we'll see.
Okay, we'll come to that, because I'm interested in knowing also your experience with the second and the third pillar. But before that, Rinaldo, tell us a little bit more, how did you work with Jesper? So let's look at, I mean, you saw the common challenges. Everybody said time pressure. I think it came on and on. The lack of people, qualified workers, and the need to attract qualified workers or reconvert the workers of the regions. You've seen all the shrugging when they mentioned the state aid cases. Okay, I'm not going to dwell in the state aid cases, otherwise it will become a very negative panel. But of course, there are a lot of challenges there, and I can only tell you that with the Commission, we are pushing as much as we can when the notifications depend on a decision of the Commission, of DG Comp. And so we are assisting you to get those notifications as soon as possible. But so let's look at the positive. Let's be positive this afternoon. What about let's talk about the support you had and how useful, not useful was that support. What about Jespers? You mentioned they worked with you.
Well, let's say, just coming back to the identifying key for the investment that we assumed. It's the second point of my participation to the platform, apart from the European Union role. The second point that is, by my point of view, the transition is just if community marry the transition. So we assumed after 50, 60 years of an industry with a carbon-intensive production that people, workers, small, medium enterprises had to change their way, their approach, their behaviors in the communities. And to reach these targets, we assumed that together, working so well with the managing authorities in Italy, that we want to select some operations, 4 operations in particular, inside the actions pipelines of our territorial plan. Along this way, and then we can discuss, we even received some support from Jaspers and all the other peoples from the European Bank of Investment. But just to understand how is the way to ask to a community to change their model, their way of life. We selected, and it's so strange for a city that hosts a most important steel factory, some culture and creative industries, because nobody believed in Italy that Taranto could move to a different role inside the southern regions, so engaged on tourism matters, for instance. Then we work together with the managing authorities with research and innovation, because biomedical sector, aerospace, new materials research, shipyards, platforms are all sectors that convince our players, the middle players, the private business to move to different environment and to leave the steel factory to another destiny. Then we work as for the green belt, as I told you, as the main project that we assumed on the green economy and biodiversity, of course, on the blue economy, because Taranto, I don't know how many people know, is the 3rd large port in Italy today. So through the blue economy, we can ask to our people, our workers, to change their skills to make a great internationalization even of the process of our players, and that is why we ask to all our community to move with a great conviction on another way. This is why a second target that we assumed in our actions, it was to explain to the players how to engage the other pillars of the mechanism, because local private business don't see to the Just Transition Fund as some things that involve the way of life every day. So we want to move from the public investment, from the public engagement, to some driver action for them. And I suppose this is the way to ask to community to marry the transition and to make the transition as a just transition.
Very good. Thank you very much. Kirsten, you have also worked a number of tools to assist you in your complex process of transforming those industries in Sweden. You use the JTP groundwork, you use the JTP peers, technical support instrument. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
We try to use everything we can, because there is really a need for support. On the public side, in northern Sweden, the municipalities are facing big challenges because of the transition. There is a big need for housing, for infrastructure, for investments, and the municipalities don't have that kind of money. So the public sector loan facility has attracted a lot of interest, and we were in we are lucky to have an office of the European Investment Bank in Stockholm. So that helps to have a direct partner on the ground to talk also in Swedish to the municipalities to explain the public sector loan facility. And so one municipality has submitted a request, but others also plan to submit requests, and we actually would need a bigger envelope there. We have, through JT Peers, we have requested support on the topic of attracting workers, attracting talent internationally. So there is the region of Västerbotten has gotten support through that, and it's proving very exciting. We have also through JT Peers been granted support and exchanges between Norrbotten and Ireland, which is going to be very helpful on community outreach and on energy issues. Gotland is also going to get some expertise. And finally, we have, through the technical support instrument, we have been able to get some support linked to regional physical planning, because there is really a need to improve the work on physical planning when the industry transforms, in order to improve planning capacities at all levels.
Thank you, Paul. That's a lot. That's a big menu. We can explore more if you want to listen more from Kirsten on these experiences of these tools. What about you, Carlos? What was your experience with the tools available for the Just Transition mechanism?
Yes, from the beginning, our approach to the Territorial Just Transition Plan was to develop it not at all in a silos way. We would have to be open to hear different critical points of view in the implementation of the Just Transition Plan. That's why, since the beginning, we proposed a forum for the Just Transition Plan in Médio Tejo. This forum, which is presided by CCDRC, also includes the Intermunicipal Association of Médio Tejo, of course, representing the 13 municipalities of Médio Tejo, also the municipality of Abrantes, where the coal plant was located, also some national entities that are relevant for the public policies regarding the just transition, also some business representatives, R&D and I institutions, and also the union that represents the affected workers from the coal plant. So this is, from the start, a critical point from our point of view, a critical, essential way to assure that there is critical thinking, there are voices that are able to pinpoint the situations, as you suggested earlier, regarding the implementation. And on top of that, knowing that we are not capable, or that we would benefit from hearing other voices, we, in cooperation with the SIM Médio Tejo, the Intermunicipal Association of Médio Tejo, we applied for the JTP Groundwork initiative. This was a way to get specialized support from Guidehouse in reaching out to stakeholders, in creating a movement around the opportunities that the Just Transition Fund can promote for the territory. This would mean supporting us in organizing events to promote discussion with the territory, in disseminating the funding opportunities. So this means really developing leaflets and information documents that we could put out not only for inside stakeholders, but also in other languages to promote foreign investment in the territory. And last but not least, they are also supporting us in something that we need to start debating right now, which is the monitoring of the JTF actually, in knowing how to measure success. What do we perceive as success? What metrics are we going to use? What do we want to see happen in the territory? And what indicators should we rely on? What are we going to do to measure the success that, of course, we all want to see in our region? So that support has been essential, and until the end of this year, we will benefit from this support. And now we are one of the 6 lucky cases that were selected for this groundwork initiative, and so far it's really been a wonderful way of stimulating and putting a spotlight on the implementation and monitoring of our JTF in Médio Tejo.
Thank you, Carlos. Hadana, would you like to tell us about the tools available? You use a lot of tools we've seen. You have a lot of challenges, but you also you use the menu well. Tell us a little about.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I've already mentioned Jaspers, and I will maybe a little bit more explain how important it is for us, as it is half of the strategic projects actually are half of the allocation of the program, which means that's quite a lot of money, and we're talking about projects sometimes about 100 million euros. So, and once they were recommended by the regions to be financed, they have to be, they don't compete with the others. So we have to be sure that actually there's value for the money in the projects, that actually will be there sustainable, they will have the impact in the regions. Maybe they will not be even finished this year, and they have like, you know, maybe 15 years ahead for the final, for the finish of the projects. And Jaspers was actually consulting the project since basically their beginning, when there was like an Excel table or A4 Word of the project, and then they are assessing their pre-feasibility studies now to be. And only after that they can be actually submitted as a project proposal, which is great that we have this expertise, and that now we're looking at probably 32 projects. So it will be quite challenging, and they are so different. We are talking about circular economy, we are talking about land restoration, we're talking even about some soft projects, not only hard investments. So it is a challenge for all of us to go through these projects and finalize them. Then we have 4 running TSC programs, which I talked about. One that brought the information about JTF in the territories, but there are other 2 which are worth mentioning, which is the help with the design of the second and third pillar, actually, because we want to use this opportunity, and the ground was, I mean, the regions were asking all the time, like, what will be the conditions, like, how can we use it? So I'm very happy that actually now with the help. There are even there is a pipeline of projects for the third pillar. I don't know if we're going to talk about it later. Okay.
No, please.
So we even have one project now, which is the Philharmony of Ostrava. I don't know if you want to show, if you could start the presentation again. There is just a picture how it will look like. This is the future of Ostrava. It is a big project, 170 million euros. Which, yeah, it's there. This is a strategic project of Ostrava that actually they will, they already submitted for financing from the third pillar, and it will be also like a cultural center. There will be a theater hall, and it's a new building emerged with the older building, cultural heritage building. And this could create a great environment although a metropole, it can make a European effect actually, because it's between three countries, Czech Republic, Poland, and Slovakia. And as there is university, there's musical university, it can really create an effect. And I'm very glad that Ostrava is so bold to go for a project in the third pillar, to really borrow money, although they get, of course, a significant amount on the grant, but it's something. And I even myself, I come from Prague to make sure I'm not from any of the regions. And I always thought that it's worth going to the regions, and Ostrava is a region where music, Janáček, famous composer, was born there, and they always try to make as much as possible out of it. And there is a musical university, and if they have a musical hall like this, I think it can attract students. It can attract then other people to even stay there, live there, and create really something into the region.
Maybe we're looking at the venue of our future JTF platform conference when it's finished. So
27.
not too long.
And the last, Mayor Kubis is here, and I think he will talk tomorrow. That was the groundwork, also as you mentioned, in the city of Sokolov. There is 10 municipalities that actually signed an agreement that they will create their just transition plan of the mini region. And there was a conference last week, and I must say that that really is helping to raise awareness, to get the municipalities, entrepreneurs together, talk about their issues, that they should actually go, what is necessary for the region. And I think this helps also with the international experience that was there last week. Thank you.
Thank you. Rinaldo, are you using Pillar 2 or Pillar 3? Are you thinking of using the same for Carlos? Because the needs, we hear from all over the regions, I mean, the needs are much, much wider and bigger than the allocation of the Just Transition Fund. I would also like to hear about you, Carlos, on complementarity, because that's always an important topic. And we're always told that it's difficult, so I really would like to see your experience.
Yeah, for sure. We haven't yet started using or exploring the usage of Pillar 2 and 3. But in the territorial plan that we included in the official text for the regional program, we already provided some hints on where we want to explore the complementarity in regards to Pillar 2 and 3. We know that they can be useful for exploring investment and supporting interesting investment projects in energy and mobility sectors. These are two of the main sectors that are of relevance for Meditejo region. So it would make total sense to explore that opportunity. And of course, the public sector loan facility that represents Pillar 3 could also promote some public investment that would be of interest. And I think that storytelling and stories like yours can be quite inspiring in terms of promoting that investment. We haven't done that yet, but it's for sure on the future plans or future steps to be taken. And also the complementarity also goes in regards to, I would just a quick note, in Portugal, as soon as the coal power plant was about to close, it was a political decision in Portugal to support through national funds the affected workers. This was a mechanism to support the affected workers. The fact is that that support line is going to end at the end of the year, so in a couple of months. So our JTF also has to explore that complementarity in regards to, okay, so if there's a policy gap to be supported, and JTF is all about people, leaving no one behind, that for sure needs to be a priority in our JTF, and that goes in the direction of complementarity, is one of our key priorities since the beginning.
You.
Sofia, this is an original matter because sometimes I see that local community invest in transition, the national authorities not always push on the just transition. So this is one of the obstacles that we have. We worked on some projects before the mechanism was started in Europe, and today we need more coordination with the national authorities, the intermediate bodies, because of course we have to define the implementation of sub-aspects as timing, as the allocation of funds. If the national governments, even above all in Italy, let me say, every year change the rules, the transition is more difficult for the communities. I want to just point out some few words about the champions of our journeys in Taranto. I told you something about the green belt, these green areas that can change the way of life of people around the urban perimeters, and even the SIAB. Why the SIAB? Then I will try to explain you. Because we have to tell the people that assume a transition is even to collect from the past outlooks some identity matters, some sectors that can help people to change their models. Let me just read some words arranged by my office because I want to avoid any missing, any mistake. With the JTF funding, we provided the opportunity to increase the impact of the overall regeneration efforts in Taranto on the economic revitalization that we need after the 50 years of steel production, and especially in sectors that rely the enhancement of Taranto's extraordinary historical, artistic, and natural assets that we have to explain to the people. Then, with the named Green Belt and the SIAB, we assume that those are exemplary of such strategy in order for the first one to consist in development of proper green infrastructures that is so important in the policy of Brussels. And with the Green Belt, increasing the resilience of the city from the effects of the climate change, of course. And that's even for the bioremediation of soils in a place where the industry had that kind of impacts, and also mending the scars, because pollution, but also landscape deturpation left behind by past industrial development. It creates the condition of sustainable fruitions of Taranto precious natural heritage, as I told you. Then, with the SIAB, the second of our champion on the way of the transition, by regenerating and renaturalizing large parts of the coastline of Taranto. I don't know if you know the inland sea, called the Little Sea, Mar Piccolo. It creates the condition for the sustainable growth of a traditional mussel farming sector and even other seafood initiatives on the blue economy in general, as I told you on my previous intervention. So, by my point of view, if even the intermediate bodies in this moment and national authorities push this kind of strategy, we reach the transition so fast, apart from all the other timing and allocations troubles that we point out with Carlos.
Thank you very much. We'll come back to that because I actually will come back to you. But I would like to know, you pointed to a very important part of process of the Just Transition mechanism. In Cohesion Fund is all about working with stakeholders on the ground. It's all about the bottom-up approaches. But we know that reality, it doesn't really match this narrative. And with JTF, everybody tried to give another push to this reality. We really need to work locally. We really need to work locally and with the stakeholders. So to make this happen in with such a fast pace, because I don't know if you remember when Commissioner Vice President Timmermans, who unfortunately left the Commission some time ago, he was promoting the Green Deal. He kept on saying, and he used this sentence several times, the Green Deal will happen locally. So we need the local partners and we need the people. So what is your experience with involving stakeholders? Can I start with Kirsten?
Yes. We are working closely with the regions, the 3 regions, and they, in their turn, are working with municipalities. We are working with the vocational trainings, the different stakeholders that are part of the decarbonization of the industry. but it's something we need to do better, and I think we can learn a lot from others. And I look forward to the JT Pearce cooperation with Ireland and Midlands, because I think we have something to learn from them. So it's something that we definitely need to evolve further as we are implementing the fund.
Well, let me just a parenthesis on Ireland. Ireland will the region that will benefit from the Just Transition Fund and mechanism is the peat bogs. So they used to produce electricity out of peat. They have closed the bogs. I mean, the bogs are no longer used. They have been transitioned a little bit like the situation in Médio Tejo. But they did it in a manner that they really involved every single stakeholder in the region. I mean, it's a central region of Ireland. If you look at the geography of Ireland, I mean, it's a less developed region, the less populated. And I think every single hairdresser, every single gas pump, every single economic actor and person in the region was involved in the very successful in the plan. So now to you, Carlos. You seem like you have learned a lot on how to leverage on stakeholders for your implementation of your plan.
Yeah, going back to the two main points, I would say that the forum that was created has that role of assuring that voices are heard and voices are and people have a seat at the table. I would stress that the interaction with the Intermunicipal Association of Médio Tejo is essential. They know the territory better than anyone else. The articulation with the municipalities involved, of course, they know the territory pretty much closely. The articulation with the National Institute for Employment and Training, they have centers in the territory. They are quite aware of the people that are affected, that were affected and are still suffering the repercussions of the closure of the plant. They are quite aware of the lives of the people that were affected, what they are going through in terms of looking for new job opportunities, in terms of years until retirement. We have a close articulation with them to see how things are evolving in that regard. So the forum really is that network. Of course, more can be done. I would add a self-critic, if I may, going back to a point that was made earlier in terms of assuring the voices of the youth that for sure can be explored and should be explored in the context of the JTF, but in the context of our framework, the voices and the table has been the forum, which is responsible for the monitoring of the policy, and that's where we have been stimulating the discussions around the implementation.
And they have a lot to say, the youth, especially on this subject, right?
Yeah.
Adana.
Thank you. Well, this was a role basically from the beginning to involve the stakeholders even in the creation of the JTP plans. And it's basically the role of the region because they're on the spot. And there is a platform in each of the regions which is called the regional standing or permanent conference, where actually the main stakeholders should be involved. There were created a lot of working groups, and even in the beginning, they were involved. They recommended the strategic project, and of course now we're consulting the calls for proposals, and so the involvement continues, but we need even a little bit more. So we're going to some activities in the regions, like a zoo park in Khomuto, for example, where we've been with the program, and we were asking people, like, what do you want to change in your region? And I was there personally. I don't go everywhere, I cannot, of course, but this one was special because they actually told me, oh, well, we were thinking there's a lake after, it's a lake after mining, you know, this recultivated area, and there is a lack of infrastructure. We would like to see some more activities, like bringing life into around the lake, because we have some nice examples, like in Moss. And I was like, yeah, but this is the program we're actually designing now. There will be a call for proposal for this. There are some already. So I was quite happy that we're actually matching what people who are walking on a Saturday afternoon would like to see in their region. But of course, this is one example, but we want to do more of these.
Very good. Do you want to add something to that?
No, let me just add that if we have some troubles with the managing authorities sometimes, then we have even some opportunities. As I told in my previous intervention, we work so well with Jaspers, for instance. When we work with Jaspers, we follow, after having defined our urban master plan and the master plan involving other 29 municipalities in the province, we work along three different ways, three assignments. That's an experimental approach that we assume with Jaspers regarding the new Bauhaus principles that we apply to the green infrastructures. And this is a nice way to allocate the funds to follow new projects. Then, of course, on a weekly basis with Jaspers, they will help the municipalities, the leader municipalities, to fill up the forms, to intercept new opportunities. And then I have to come back to the prologue of this interview. They help us, even in the modern language, for little and medium-sized communities, it's a plus in any case. They help us to explain to the private sector how we engage the other pillars. I insist, it's one of the most important targets that we have. It's not enough to activate some public driver. We need to involve the private sector to multiplicate, to enlarge all the applications of the Just Transition mechanism. And usually with Jaspers, we are in charge for this kind of targets.
Thank you very much. I think we could stay here for a long time, but I want to close the first part of the panel and also pass on the floor to the audience. So just to wrap up here, we've touched on many important issues, but and please don't give me the full strategy before I don't want the full strategy, but what would you need, or how will you ensure, from your experience today, that the transition, the just transition, will be a success in your region?
Starting by my side, yeah, transition is life for us today. It's life for us today. There's no a plan B. There's not another destiny that starts with a just transition. But I repeat, to assume a just transition and not a theory, we need to talk with the community. We need to involve with great participation all the stakeholders. We need to ask to our national authorities, the intermediate body, to assume a right role in this transition. And we need maybe to talk about this morning. This was the speech with Mr. Nava at DG Reform, directly as local territories along the ways of the territorial plans with the Bruxelles institution. But we have no plan B. By my side, Taranto need to complete the just transition as soon as possible. Maybe, and this was one of the targets discussed in Taranto a few weeks ago with Commissioner Ferreira, we just need to understand how complete, how reach all the timing deadline and schedules that presently we received by Brussels. But apart from operative matters, there's no plan B by my side.
Thank you, Kirsten.
I think that the dialogue on just transition is so much wider than the fund, and it has taken us some time to fully understand that the just transition dialogue needs to continue and grow and learn, and there is many questions to be asked of how to make a transition just, and this will need to be done. So it's not an easy fund to be in charge of, because it comes with a big responsibility of doing things right.
But it is very exciting, isn't it? Yeah. It's exciting. Carlos.
In the case of Meditejo, until now we have been benefiting a lot from the support of the JTP groundwork. They have helped us a lot in keeping up the pace and being at all moments aware of the implementation status of the JTF. The technical assistance will end soon enough, so our job and our homework is to keep up the pace from that, the end of that cooperation onward, and that means still trying to promote engagement events to see how stakeholders are, if they see themselves in the plan, in the implementation of the JTF or not, or beyond the JTF, in the just transition of the territory, and keep the work of the forum that we have implemented, and keep the door open for voices to be heard, and work on implementation and monitoring, as I said earlier. That's our biggest task in our homework, is to discuss how we want to measure success and what goals we want to achieve, and start working on preparing that to be done, and the monitoring to be properly done in the just transition of Médio Tejo.
Thank you. Radan.
Well, I think we all that are involved in the just transition, not even on the national level, but on the regional, we have to be trustworthy for the ground. We have to know what we are able to do, what are the conditions now, what will be the next steps. It implies a lot of things, actually. And I always thought, you know, if I want to do something bold, I need to know that I can ask somebody if this is the correct way or not. And sometimes in this process, it's not like this. Of course, it's new. So what we would like to see probably is that we have the future, and even the people, if they started something, that they will then continue in the process, if we are trustworthy. And what you need in a process like this, where there are these situations, you need to be optimistic and motivated, I think, all of us.
You mentioned something very important, is we are talking about the future, and it's important to involve our future citizens, our now citizens, but our future decision makers of the future. So the young people have to be involved in this process. And I don't know if you know, but we have an initiative called Teens for Green in the Commission, so it's parallel to all the efforts that you are making to involve the youth in this dialogue and in the implementation, not only in the dialogue. And we have, so we've launched a call, and we've selected around 70 projects around Europe. Most member states are there, so there are young people, young projects from most member states, and hopefully, you know, the forthcoming calls will involve the whole of Europe. And it's just simple, very simple sometimes, but sometimes even very obvious, but so needed projects to involve how to make the transition more inclusive. So we asked the young people, how will you work on the ground? With whom will you work on the ground to make this transition more inclusive? So we have 70 projects. We will be, once they're final, we'll also be, you know, informing about them, also in your regions, so that, and I hope that you're already in contact with them. If not, we'll put you in contact with them pretty soon, because they merit all the support that they can have. So now I would like to turn to you, the audience, also the online audience. Your questions will come to me. I still don't know how, but we will figure out very soon. Okay, very good. The lady there with the black dress and the white dots. I think you were the first to raise your hand. Just please speak close to the mic, because the sound is not very good.
Thank you. My name is Emilia Sarawska. I'm energy efficiency and renewable energy advisor in municipality of Bitola in North Macedonia. We are part of Just Transition process, but we are not part of Just Transition funds, because we are discussing about the funds. I will just want to give you a short explanation and a question. We have 12 kilometers from near the city. There is the biggest power plant in North Macedonia. And also in the same valley, we are 13 kilometers from the border from Greece. So I'm discussing about the same valley. We have a power plant from one side, the power plant from the other side, coal mine from left side, coal mine from right side. We know that Greece have 1.6 or 1.7 billions from Just Transition funds, but Macedonia is not a part of European Union, so we don't have anything from Just Transition funds, except sometimes European Commission, European Union give us some money like support. What do I mean about this problem? Because I told you, we are in the same valley, pollution from our side going in Greece. And what if they have a solution for this problem? And we don't have it. We don't have actually money for solving that solution. So how can you explain this, and what is your vision about this situation, and what do you mean about this kind of situation?
Anyone has ideas from Macedonia? How did you do before funding? I mean, you said very well that the transition needs to start way before the Just Transition funds started, right? I mean, the transition starts with a vision, starts with the idea that we have no planet B, we have no plan B, we need to start the transition.
I think that you have to start, even with other funds, with other lines, with other authorities, because if you wait for the complete solution, the transition is long to arrive. As Sophia pointed out, maybe the community have to start on the bottom to discuss about the transition. Let me give you just an example. When we started with our action plan, 2 years ago, we proposed the hydrogen valley in the Apulia region in order to switch the use of carbon in this factory to some electrical oven, as in Sweden, in Austria, and other countries are just arranging, in order to move towards the European Green Deal. Today, again, the national government stopped this kind of theory, but we started, in any case, with the transition mechanism. We start, in any case, to explain to our players the way to move to a different economy and to limit the share of that factory that in Taranto on the local gross product. We have to emancipate the players and our way of life to the monster that we have to fight. So you have to start in any case, and then I suppose that I'm not an European Commissioner, that some solutions are on the table and we can study everything. But you have to start with your people, not waiting for someone by government and by the factory, by the power plant, I don't know, in Macedonia. This is my point of view.
Thank you very much.
Radana also has a tip for you, so let's...
Yeah, I was like, yeah, what can we do? But as Rinaldo started talking, I realized it's the same. We had the same. I mean, we were in the European Union. We had these coal regions, but there was no JTF, and we had to prepare for any funding basically. So, but we had to know what we want. I mean, what the regions need. What are their problems? What are their potentials? So where to go, so prepare the projects. And so they created a strategy. It was actually a national strategy after all. It took some time. It took a lot of effort for people to really create this. But then there was a strategy and even some action plans. And then they were going and asking, okay, so now the regions actually have their vision. They want something, so let's help them. It wasn't easy at all, but even then there were some activities that were supported by other ministries or from other funds. So I would definitely support that. You need to focus first. You have to know what you want, what is necessary, and create it on the spot, on the territory. And then in the discussions about the second pillar, where we were thinking where and how to do it, how to help the big companies, and the money from the first pillar is not enough. There is European, and I lost it now. European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, and somebody told me that they're now willing to create a special program for the coal regions, and I'm sure they're not investing only in EU countries, and they would probably support even some development, like the pre-phase. So probably maybe that's a way, look around where there could be some other funds.
Carlos wants to say something quickly because we have other questions, and I would like to use it.
Very quick note, just to say that in Central Region, besides the territorial plan for Mediotejo, we also proposed a territorial plan for other sub-region within the region, which was not approved in the negotiation process with the European Commission. This was to tackle the issue of manufacturing and industry sectors in our region that are strategic for us, that are high consuming in terms of energy. The territorial plan was not approved, so no JTF for that purpose. That doesn't mean that we are going to give up on the issue, but just a suggestion. What helped us a lot in the ground was working with the high-consuming industries and discussing them what it is needed from their perspective. Is it resources for investment? Is it technological development? So is it the articulation with R&D and I institutions? What is it, so that it facilitates the issue of developing the instrument, the funding instrument, because only then you can start the homework and the necessary work that needs to be done. So define the hotspots first.
Thank you for these tips. We have another question in the room, but before, can we take a question online?
Yeah, perfect. I have two questions actually from the managing authority of the JTF program in Italy. They're listening online. One is a bit more technical on simplified cost options and experiences that maybe the speakers want to share in applying these to JTF operations. And the second question is about whether there's interest or demand for managing authorities such as you to have something like a thematic working group on JTF implementation to meet more frequently and to discuss these topics. Thank you.
I don't know, do you have any experiences with simplified cost options? Adana, you're saying yes, so maybe you can.
Well, we're trying to use it as much as we can in basically each of the calls. The ones that are given in the regulation, we are using for the indirect cost. We're using for basically like the ones that are allowed, and then we're even using them like internally in. For example, we're trying to now develop a call for schools. For students to go out of the schools in some of the areas, the socially excluded areas. It's difficult for the families to pay for these
exchanges.
To stay somewhere for a week with the class. It's like a, well, let's say, team building for the class. Sometimes they open up. It's actually a prevention also for early school leaving from the schools, and so we want to do an option for this, like to count a very simple method, so that the schools don't have to like give every single invoice. So we will definitely work with that.
I'm not sure I got the second question. Can you repeat?
The second question was about whether there's interest from managing authorities to form something like an informal working group to discuss topics like today.
Yeah, why not? I mean, yeah.
I guess there are other managing authorities in the room also. Very good. So you can organize yourselves, huh? Because these guys already have a lot of work. But you can always organize yourselves and exchange best practices, because Sander was already there like, ah. Okay, you were waiting for the floor. Sorry, behind you, and then you. And then we close.
Hello. Hi, my name is Miuka Stampień. I'm from CE Bank Watch Network. We focus mostly on Central and Eastern Europe, and in our analysis, what's come out of the TJTPs is that, I mean, generally from the regulation itself, it comes out that there is a huge focus on economic diversification and re-employment of those losing their jobs, and this is the obvious focus of the Just Transition Fund and the Just Transition mechanism to a large extent. And what we've noted is that there is, of course, as a result, much lower allocation to environmental and other social issues. So my question for you is, at this point in the implementation, now that you're starting to actually implement, you know, the plans that you've had, the first projects, where are you seeing the gaps in the financing? And this is not to say that the Just Transition Fund is to criticize it, because we as Bankwatch are very, you know, supportive of the Just Transition Fund, because it is a very useful mechanism that is used on the ground that has changed a lot for these regions. But at the same time, it's useful to actually talk about where more funding should be going, where there are, these blind spots that should be addressed and that are not fully there because of how, the funds are currently being defined, I would say. Thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting question.
My observatory. First of all, the timeline, as we told in advance, because of course, we have to issue public advice after the master plan, after the actions are approved. We have to pass through the Italian bureaucracy. So it's not so easy to respect all the schedule that we received by the commissioner. Then again, another key point is the technical support. Because, for instance, in Taranto, we have 700 of people working at the municipality, but my organizational chart should involve a double quantity of people. Of course, to follow every program and respect that timeline is not so easy in the bureaucracy scenario that we have. So maybe something have to be reconsidered by the national authorities when they acquire for these programs. But I suppose that, as understood by the Commissioner Ferreira, we are talking about some of questions that Commission are just discussing in these months.
So I would think of municipalities that are at the heart of the transition. There we have seen that the needs are much larger and more needs to be done. And then to add maybe specific vulnerable groups which need more attention in the transition. And certainly on our side, we need to think about, there is an indigenous group as well in Sweden that we need to really...
Say a little about that, because it's quite specific.
So the Sami is an indigenous group, people in Sweden, in northern Sweden, and they are very much affected by climate change. Their way of life and the way, reindeer
herding, yeah. They're reindeer herders most of the time.
Is directly impacted by climate change. Climate change is happening quicker in the north. At the same time, I mean, so they need to really be at the table on transition, but they can. There's a capacity issue as well of how many discussions you can be in, etc. So it's just something to bear in mind of how you handle, how you approach.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of Médio Tejo, I would just briefly mention that until now the focus has been on promoting the economic diversification and the up and reskilling of workers. So the focus has been in supporting companies and innovative investments. From the feedback that we have received, a lot more can be done in terms of public investment, so that the region can itself develop and become more a valuable asset that can become more sustainable and resilient towards negative shocks like the closure of the plant that just happened and aggravated all the cumulative negative effects that it has. So I would say that that's most of the feedback that we have received until now.
I was thinking about it. It's actually very good questions, because we might be thinking of the JTF too. But no, it's difficult. There's so many aspects. But what I hear from the municipalities and from the regions quite a lot now is affordable housing, or actually housing in the areas. Because if you want to attract new people for the new economy you're building, you need high quality people. And they need, or they want, a quality of life that they've had before, at least, or even maybe better. So, and this is something that I think we cannot do from Pillar 1. It can be done from Pillar 3, but we're working on it, and the municipalities are pretty vulnerable actually in these areas, and sometimes they cannot even like think that they would take a loan. They would not be probably credible for the others. So it's really difficult to think about something that is so easy. You need teachers in the regions to bring young people to really have this asset in people there. And if you cannot give them nice living, I think it's something that they really want.
Okay, very good. Do we have time for one more question? We have 5? Okay, there was still someone else who was raising its hand. Not anymore. I think you're saying enough. Okay, very good. So we'll round up.
Sorry, Sophia, here.
Oh, you have other, yes.
Yeah, there's another one from the online audience to Radana to further elaborate a bit on the combination of Pillar 1 and Pillar 2 in intervention.
Yes, well, there is assignment now. The National Development Bank in the Czech Republic is now the implementing body of the second pillar, and they're waiting for the conditions from the EIB to actually be able to create something that we can work on, because we have quite a lot of big companies in some of the regions, and we think that we cannot support them enough from the first pillar. We launched several calls that are tackling some themes like the circular economy or reskilling, upskilling of workers, but not their big investments. And it doesn't make sense to finance this from grant, especially when in the Czech Republic we have a financial instrument, transition loan for the small and medium enterprises for their investments. So for us, it doesn't make sense, but we would like to help. So if there would, now when we see the conditions from the EIB for the second pillar, we were thinking of creating like a co-financing, a grant that could help the company when they apply for a project in the second pillar. But it's a vision. We have now gone to identifying 2 themes which could be relevant for the big companies, but we're waiting. And the implementation, the National Development Bank has to create a scheme, and it will take time. And it will be probably, if we want to do it, or if we will do it, and we have to discuss it with the regions too. And then, of course, for the big companies, I mean, they want to do the decision where to invest and how now, not in 1 year. So we will see. I think this is a big question mark, and we would like to use it, but we'll see. Maybe next year.
Okay. Point taken. Another question? Very quick, because I guess we will have to wrap up in 1 minute or 2.
Carla Sitter, Municipality of Velenje, Slovenia. One short question. How are you dealing with do not significant harm?
What?
Do
Say
not
it again? Do no significant harm? Do you know that? Kirsten, very brave.
Well, there is the environmental assessment done at the time of when the program was written. There is mechanisms in place ahead of grant decision-making to ensure that the relevant bodies are in agreement with the given proposal. There is the law. Yeah, we went through the risks. We tried to go through the risks at the time the program was written.
Anyone else would like to? No? No. It was not a painful exercise, as you see. It was a very cheerful exercise. Okay, I understand the Commissioner is still on her way, so we have time for a couple more questions. Anyone? I mean, they're already exhausted, but I think they will take another 5 minutes of grilling. No? You want to pause? Online also, not?
We touched a bit upon stakeholder involvement already. There's a more specific question from France about involvement of NGOs in the implementation. If you want to be more specific.
Yeah, Kirsten, go ahead.
We had NGO involvement at the time that the program was consulted, but I think we could do better in the implementation. Some of the projects, I think when you go to involve NGOs, it also has to be relevant. I mean, you need to come with a real question, a real offer. So that's also what's been on our mind of how to do it in a meaningful way. But yes, there's some involvement, but could be improved.
The same for the others? Some involvement, but it could be improved?
A lot of people participate to the proposals process, to all the panels involved in the audit formalities. Of course, I repeat, as for the other question, we have to start with public advice. So probably the way to take together all the people in some project financing is the way to give some feedbacks to the people that want to adhere to the just transition mechanism. But of course, we are public administration, so all the people that send some proposal have to follow then the public advice that country by country have to arrange it.
I mean, and that touches on the communication point, because some of the transitions imply a very difficult process, right? Especially in the countries where where the countries have committed to reduce capacities of coal extracting or lignite extracting, and also the production of electricity based on coal or lignite. I mean, this is a very hard transition. I mean, you had it in Pegu, you had it in Czech Republic. As the industrial transition is also a very important one, because, as you say, you have a region dependent on very often two economic operators, and suddenly you tell the people, especially those who work in those plants and companies, I mean, you will need to change the way basically you make your daily bread. And this prompted a lot of discussion, a lot of contestation, opposition in many regions. So how did you do it in your regions? Did you experience this? A lot of opposition from stakeholders. I mean, in Bulgaria, they're all on the street for the past weeks, just of the thought of the government presenting a plan, because they still don't have an adopted plan. And the miners are on the streets. So a lot of social contestation to the transition. Do you have a word of wisdom, of advice to encourage?
Sophia, I think that if people, stakeholders, enterprises understand that we can make money and take a better life, they will follow the politicians and technicians. This is the way for transition. So we have to explain them that every driver, every investment, every layout correspond concretely in a few time to some changes in their life, in their way to make business. This is the way, by my point of view. And there's a space to discuss with everyone, even with the NGO in some projects.
Kirsten, anyone else? Carlos.
I would just say that in the case of Meditejo, the closure of the plant was not a shock. It was the result of the phasing out process. So it was not a shock, and the societal backlash, so to say, did not happen at the date of closure of the plant. In the case of Meditejo, and I believe this is the case for other regions in Europe, it's and the challenge. It's to build a vision for the future, as we've been saying. And in the particular case of Meditejo, and this is a result of the close interaction that we have been having with the Intermunicipal Association of Meditejo, it's often seen as a good place to live. It has conditions for a good quality of life, which should be at the heart of every public policy. So what needs to happen there, it's new job opportunities and job opportunities and a future for young generations. So that's the whole discussion about the Mediotejo, and this is at the heart of Just Transition Fund. It's providing and discussing a pathway forward and involving the young generation. So.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have the Commissioner already in the room, so we will round up here. And I would like to thank you very much for being here, sharing your stories, your experience with all of us. Thank you for your interest and your questions. And a round of applause to our guest speakers.